you are not going to create your legacy by just waiting until you get there and then saying, piece it together. It's not a magic wand. It's not going to work. You got to do some of this delving into yourself and creating the awareness. We learn something, we expand, we want more. And it's beautiful if you don't become a clutter hound. Don't look at my bookshelves. Books don't count. Books don't count. They do at some point. Hi there. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I'm Vicki, intuitive life coach. Happy to be here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening to this, watching this, however we are getting together energetically on this really foggy day here in New York. I appreciate you being part of this experience and bringing your energy and listening to this wherever and however you are. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about legacy. And this came about because I have been doing a lot of work in a coaching program, and it focused a lot on our saboteurs. Shirzad Chamine, if you want to look him up, absolutely amazing program, wonderful book called Positive Intelligence, and aligns with everything I believe in. The science, the using your soul mind, using your understanding of who you are, being a little confused about who you are, but getting to know yourself even more. It's up my alley, and it has been a lot of deep dive work. And I love that because personally, if you're a coach and you're not doing your own work, you should not be in the business. If you're a therapist and you won't look at your own stuff, toodaloo. You're a doctor and you're not taking care of your health, ta-ta. A financial advisor and your numbers look terrible, no thank you. So as souls, we're always expanding and growing. And one of the ways I do that is to make sure that I'm taking trainings with people that align with me. Along the line of doing this work, there have been some huge awarenesses that I've had about myself, which has lightened my load. So if you've watched previously and you're like, whew, she seems fun, but she can be super serious at times. I am human. Going through my own process of learning how my traumas have affected me, how the beauty of my life affects me, and where I am and shifting and growing to the best of my capability. And along with this, joining with you and saying, come on, I figured this part out. Let's go. So one of the things that happened this last week and one of the exercises we had to do is I started delving into more of like my own life and what would that look like and how could I enjoy even more of it, of where I am at this point in my life, and to have appreciation from whence I've come, like to really feel gratitude for my own experiences and for decisions I've made and all that jazz. So that led me to thinking, well, I've been so blessed to be at the bedside of people who are passing and to have those really hard conversations and to be shaken in my boots while I'm asking them questions because I want their soul to feel complete. And I started asking myself the questions. Well, Vicki, what do you want to look back on and say, I did a pretty good job of that? If you've listened to the podcast before, and when I've talked about how we croak and we get a movie screen that we're watching that's basically replaying our lives, I want to be sitting there eating my spirit popcorn saying, did pretty well. Okay, could improve that, but I don't plan on having kids in the next lifetime. Heads up to the kid I had in this lifetime. Or, wow, I'd really like to learn more about that. Let me sign up for that kind of growth in the next lifetime. So I decided, well, why the heck am I going to wait till I croak? Like, let's do that now. And then I had not had that discussion with myself. And 3 hours later, somewhere around there, was having a session with one of my amazing clients. And he shared with me that he's just really afraid he's going to get to the end of his life and realize that he didn't do anything of importance. And I'm like, boy, are we on the same wavelength. So I asked him the same question I asked myself. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to leave behind? What do you want to look back on? I'm not talking about how other people see you. Be nice if you contributed, but I'm not talking about that. What do you want to look back on and say, I rocked that. I love that. I appreciate that about myself. And then let's work the problem backwards, right? Like instead of solving for X, let's identify X and then create the life that gets you there. Now, we both know we're going to change, right? Like we are going to expand and we're probably going to want more because that's what we do as souls. We learn something, we expand, we want more. And it's beautiful if you don't become a clutter hound. Don't look at my bookshelves. Books don't count. Books don't count. They do at some point. So what do I mean by legacy? To me, legacy is the imprint or the impact that we leave on the world by aligning our truly authentic self, not the new age woo-woo-y way of saying authentic self, just so you can be a biatch, but you're truly aligning with your authentic desires, passions, interests, meaningful contributions and connections that positively impact the lives of others, but primarily help your soul to grow. That's why we are all here, is to expand our souls. So in doing that, we then contribute that ripple effect I'm always talking about. It's the culmination of our actions, our values, our aspirations, the reflection of what's worked, what hasn't worked, what would we like to change, what's personal fulfillment. It's the collection of experiences, but it's also contributing to the betterment of society. And that's a lot, which you can see why it would take us a lifetime to create a legacy, right? And oftentimes when the word legacy is talked about or bantied about, it's like this, you got to be on stage, you have to be a multimillionaire, or you have to contribute in a really huge way that everybody knows about. And I actually think of it in a different term. That's great if you're doing that and you're contributing to the betterment of society and humans and your soul. But it's equally as important to hold a door for someone and your kindness be your legacy. Or the fact that you volunteered on Sundays at the food pantry and someone remembers you for that. But most importantly, your soul remembers you for that. So when I talk about legacy and the viewing of your own and what type of impact do you want to have, do not misconstrue it that you have to have a very public platform or that you have to do things in a really big way, because little drops of energy and water add up. So your commitment to yourself and your desire to align with you is going to create a legacy that is without words. It's without words. So mine is, may I always live in integrity. This is what I hope. May I always live in integrity, that I'm remembered for doing my best with what I had at the time, being kind, being willing to hear that I didn't do my best and shift that, constant learning, always expanding, curiosity to the max, and being and encouraging others to do the same. If someone said I was kind and made them laugh at something I said or I did, or I will have lived a very successful, joyful life. It's not about the number of followers for me. It's not about the number of listens for this podcast, although I want a lot because I want people to really like themselves. That is not where the value for me comes in. And when I asked myself this question of, well, what kind of legacy would you like to leave? That's what it came to, is that I want to contribute. I want to be kind to animals. I want to help the earth as much as I possibly can. And I want to learn about that and keep increasing my knowledge so that I can not only share with others, but that I can do more. So while I was going through this process, it's hard to consider your legacy without looking at your past. And one of the things that came up for me, and it was a relieving of some pressure for myself, and maybe it'll be for you too, is I was journaling and I was writing about the work that I'm doing in this program and how proud I am of myself, and that I'm willing to look at my sabotaging behaviors and no longer judge myself for them and look to shift them. Episode coming up about that next month. But what the statement that came about that just relieved a lot of pressure for me was, may I be the expression of my parents and not the suppression of my parents. The reason I say this is because a legacy doesn't always turn out to be something that is light or lifted or supportive. You can carry the legacy of ancestral pain. You can carry what others think of you, and then that ends up being your legacy. Someone who's incredibly bitter or was always looking in the rearview mirror. So we have to look at both sides here. Just because I'm asking about legacy does not mean that someone's legacy is going to be self-awareness. Perhaps they didn't want to do that. And the legacy in this lifetime was bitterness and stuff. Well, when I wrote that statement, it freed something up in me, and please borrow it, to be the expression of your parents and not living through the suppression of them. And the way I came to that is my hands very much resemble what I remember of my father's hands. Now, there's a great country song that's called Daddy's Hands, but just as an aside, I would not say the thing I appreciated the most about my father was his hands, because that's what he used to clean my clock on a regular basis. So there was always a little bit of resentment that when I looked at my hands, I saw my father's hands. And then I started thinking, well, if I'm the expression of my father's legacy, what is that? Well, he was a good business person in his time in the way he did it. He was a very hard worker. That man worked hard. And he was appreciated by the town and the people in the town. And as an adult, I can appreciate that. As a kid, it used to annoy the hell out of me because everybody loved him. And then it's like, you try living with him. So being the expression of my parents means that I'm grateful that I got my mother's love of music and her voice, well, a version of her voice through the DNA, and that both of them, when they weren't tied up in their own stuff, were very funny people, like very impish sense of humor. I got that, and I'm appreciative for that. So when you think of legacy, I think we need to think of other people too, and how we got to be where we are. Because a lot of how we see ourselves is influenced by those who raised us, and neural pathways and everything. So I think it's important that when you're looking at what you would like your legacy to be, that you consider what builds that legacy, what shapes your legacy. And your past is going to shape your legacy. So any work you can do around clearing up resentments or hurts or carrying them within your body. Both my parents passed well over 12 years ago. My mother's passed 25 years ago, right? So yet I was still carrying some of this in my body. So I hope that helps in understanding that when you're looking at your own, you're not this being that just popped up on the earth. So this includes anyone who raised you or had an impact on you. So when we talk about shaping your legacy, there are things you can do in order to do that. So I figure I'll take you through that process, how I got there, not only through journaling and looking at and really being willing to listen to the voices that were in my head that were not so kind, and paying attention to them. But one of the things I did was I spent some time reflecting on, like, what are my core values and what truly matters to me. And integrity has always been that. And aligning my actions with my values so that I can ensure that my legacy reflects that. And to be clear one more time, this is not about what other people think of you or what they think of me. This is what I think of me when I'm doing that life review croaking process, and hopefully beforehand. I really want to enjoy it beforehand. To a certain extent, it's defining the impact that you wanna have on the world. Like, how do you wanna that expression, "Leave it better than you found it"? Like, you borrow somebody's car, you put more gas in it than you borrowed it with? Like, things like that. Like, having a clear sense of action like that can take a lot of pressure off, and it can help you create a meaningful life experience. Do not worry about life purpose. Any of these things where define your life purpose, you must know your life purpose. You're actually not going to know your life purpose till after you croak. And then you're probably not going to be writing it back to yourself. You'll be embracing it and having a good time. So don't worry about connecting life purpose to legacy, because that's a lot of pressure. There's always going to be an attitude of gratitude in anything around self-awareness, around creating a memory or having a joyful experience. The attitude of gratitude, that is the gasoline that will get you there. So practicing that on a daily basis and being really mindful, present with that attitude of gratitude doesn't I'd actually prefer that the attitude of gratitude not be really big things. I practice that every day. Do you have clean water to drink? Do you have coffee at your disposal? Well, that's always going to be my attitude of gratitude. It's going to start with coffee. I'm drinking less caffeine these days, and I'm still loving the coffee process. So it's all good. Do you have an attitude of gratitude when somebody lets you in merging traffic? Like, really mean the thank you. Have it be a visceral body experience and not just something that's autoresponder. Because the more mindful that you're living, the more you'll pay attention to what matters to you, and the more you're going to create a legacy without even trying, because you're going to enjoy the life in which you're living. Let's have an attitude of gratitude for the dog who's shaking her head during the podcast recording. She is adorable. She's got the wiggles. So you can think of nurturing your relationships, not only with yourself, but with others, prioritizing connections with loved ones. My word for the year is community. So however that's showing up, it's extending an offer to help. It's volunteering. And now I have a couple gigs doing that. And it's helping someone carry their groceries to the car. It doesn't have to be, again, these great big things. It's more like investing the time and energy into nurturing relationships because there's a legacy of love, support, connection, joy, and it's really just fun to help. And along those lines of serving others, find a way to contribute and to make, again, that positive impact on your community. Because you know what? We think we're so connected because of technology, but there's more of a disconnect going on now, and it's really impacting the kids. It's really creating a feeling of fear and isolation in a lot of people, which means we have to take the initiative to not let that happen. We have to invite people in or extend ourselves out so that we're not islands living next door to each other, but never connecting. So the act of releasing your past hurts and all of that is going to be really important so that you are not carrying that along because, again, you don't want your legacy to be tainted or gross. It's not a great word, but we're going to stick with it. And celebrate the fact that you're human. You are a soul within your human self. Embrace laughter, joy, levity. You can find it in any situation. Infuse your legacy with moments of happiness and joy and vibrancy, like a frequency of vibrancy, and have it be something that is innately in you, so it's not faking it to make it. And I don't believe in that. I do not believe in fake it till you make it. Be honest with your emotions, but be willing to do something about those emotions that don't feel so great. Be willing to access the comments and stuff that are going on inside your head to then shift it. Use things like Magic Mind to help you to supplement those exhaustion, the tired that, yes, life can create these days. But if you're connected with a product that can help you enhance your focus and your overall well-being and your productivity, and the productivity because you want to, because it feels joyful to create. Like doing this podcast, I love bringing information or something I've discovered and in a platform that's free for people. So Magic Mind helps me do that. I do not record without having Magic Mind on board because it gives me a natural feeling and not that heightened. I said earlier that I'm drinking less caffeine because I'm finding the higher my frequency goes intuitively, the more caffeine impacts me. So Magic Mind is helping me. And you can get 20% off by going to magicmind.com/VickiB20, and you'll get 20% off. And if you sign up for a subscription, you're going to save 56%. Use the Vicki B code as well to get 20% off. That's 76% off your first order. So head on over there, get your discount, and then come on back and let me know how much it's added a vibrancy to your life with all natural ingredients. Tastes really great. The mission of the company is to help all of us feel healthy within ourselves. And they're also available in some of the stores, but you're not going to get that discount if you go to the store. So head on over to magicmind.com/VickiB20. So once you have the product on board that's going to help you and you're living a legacy of health and vitality and joy, you can then begin to ask yourself, okay, what is my impact? What type of influence do I want to have on the world? Like, how do I want to raise the vibration of this place in which I live? How do I want to make the most out of this lifetime that as a soul I chose to come into, and then to impact health and change and vibrancy and joy, spiritual evolvement and connectivity, and whatever words you want to have in there. You could write this out. You could actually write out a story, like use your gift of storytelling and write something out that is going to feel a little fanciful at some point. But once you start rolling, you'll get a vision of what you would like your future to look like because you've fast forwarded yourself to when you're on your way to croaking. Don't wait for the death rattle. That's not the time to do it. You're already out of your body. So you create a vision for the future by fast forwarding yourself to the end of your physical life in this lifetime anyway. You'll come back again. And then looking back on it, but then so it can meet in the middle so that you can start to create some action points to actually move this legacy into something that's an active living process. Because remember, we want you to really enjoy your life. You have a legacy. We're using the legacy to get you to the point where you actually enjoy your life. I'm sure that was obvious, but I'm just going to point it out. And by painting this vivid picture of the world that you envision or thinking of it, if you're not a visual person, that's fine. Maybe you create it through cooking or baking or something along those lines, or working outside and it comes to you. Create a picture. What is the vision of your future? Start asking yourself, what the heck do I want? It's a good place to start. And then you can weave together these elements of your past, considering your future in order to be very present, because life can go by really quickly. Like, I have a 31-year-old, a 31-year-old. Like, I know I was present for her 31 years, but there's still points where I'm like, wow, I could have been much more present, and allow me to learn how to do that now so that I can impart any wisdom that I have, but I can also inspire my personal growth, others' personal growth, and a reflection of what's really important for us. It's not the physical stuff, I promise you. And by doing this, when you create these things, these visions, or this knowing, or this plan, or vision board it out if you want, it stimulates your critical thinking into action so that you can then create the steps necessary to manifest this, to have it show up in fruition. It's not a magic wand. You are not going to create your legacy by just waiting until you get there and then saying, piece it together. It's not going to work. So the importance of living in alignment with yourself and knowing what that alignment is, because it's really hard to live in alignment if you don't know what matters to you. You got to do some of this delving into yourself and creating the awareness. There's some bundles on my website that'll help you do that. There's one called Getting to Know Me, where you can learn who you are and get to know yourself, that we have a live tonight if you're listening to this on Wednesday, March 13th. But when you're living your legacy, you're not waiting until then. The biggest thief of our joy is, I will be happy when. I will be happy when I create this. I will be happy when I remember to put on Do Not Disturb. I will be happy when I am successful in this regard, or I will be happy when that book deal comes through. No, you gotta be happy now. You gotta be happy now. You don't have to. I'm not telling you what to do. It would be great if you could be happy now, because then you will already magically create this legacy that I'm asking you to consider. Every one of you matters. You all matter. We are matter. And you matter. Like, this world does not exist without you. All of us contribute to the greater whole. How do you want to contribute? First and foremost, for yourself. I'm all about creating that. And then the ripple effect. Okay? So I am going to encourage you to prioritize your joy, whatever that means for you, the attitude of gratitude, meaningful connections, and tapping into asking questions of and discovering what you may think of as a great legacy. There's different ways to create that. Some people that I look up to, some known, some maybe not so known, I look to them and say, okay, that's the kind of legacy I would like to leave. Not that exact, but something like that. Maya Angelou, I love her poetry. I loved her sense of humor. I love that she could be fresh while being respectful, and then empower generations to find their voice, embrace their identities, be our brilliant selves. Like, I love her for that. There's a woman called Maggie Doyne, and she's a founder of Blink Now Foundation. And she left her comfortable life in the United States to provide education, healthcare, support to children in Nepal. And she's built children's homes. She's built a school, a women's center. That's an example of a big legacy, but still someone that we can look to in her caring of others and towards others. Okay? I feel like it's important to have examples everywhere. In the movie Pay It Forward, the character Eugene Simonet, he represented the idea of creating a legacy through acts of kindness and the concept of paying it forward, literally the name of the movie. It inspires others when we act in that way, and it connects us to ourselves. So consider the ripple effect of your life and consider the fact that when you get honest with yourself about what matters, about what's important, about what lights you up, what makes you laugh and giggle, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't. As long as you're not hurting someone else, is always my caveat. But I encourage you to consider how this could ripple effect through future generations. Like I said, we all contribute to the whole. So if you're willing to do it for yourself, it will contribute to a greater frequency. So I'm going to ask you to take some inspired action towards creating, crafting, becoming aware of a legacy that you could be proud of. Now, if you're looking at how you're living your life and you're like, ay, 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 do not get into judgment about this. Simply look to one thing that you can shift. You do not need to make an announcement about it. Nobody on social media needs to know. Shift one thing that can help you connect dots to actually living with your own authenticity, integrity, contribution. Okay? Judgment's not going to help anybody. That's just your left brain trying to keep you small, and we are not for that. So, let me know what your what you would like your legacy to be. At this point, you're going to have more information that will contribute to it throughout your life, but you may as well get started today. What are we waiting for? I feel like it's a way to create a bar for ourselves. Don't make the bar high. You make it right here, right? If you can't reach the bar, there is no point of putting that bar there. Reach it, then put another bar. Reach it, then put another bar. Okay? But get clear for today on what is the action point you are going to do that moves you a little bit closer to what you want to reflect on your life when you're crossing on what went well and what you really enjoyed. And then let me know what that is. Okay? Vicki Baird Coaching, all the platforms, vickibaird.com. If you want to email me, if you don't want to put it on something public. And I will see you in the next episode when we are going to talk about mindfulness and intuition and why they work so well together. I'll see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickibaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.